I want to thank Mary and Matt. I believe you're also connected to the center. You or whoever is hosting, and Tupta Norbeli, I really want to thank everyone for being a part of the support of the center, and thank you for helping me to hope to do the teachings. Thank you so much. I hope you all are having a really happy New Year. I hope your holidays have been good ones. And I'm really wishing and praying for all of us in the months ahead to be as peaceful, as harmonious as possible, and for us to really best direct our energy in that way as much as we can with all that is going on around us. So let's, as we come into this space, let's just take a moment to settle our minds to kind of be here together. And if you'd like, you can lightly close your eyes. And as you do that, allow your respiration to deepen. And as you do that, allow your body to relax more and more. You've probably been doing a lot of different activities over the course of the day. We sometimes lose track of our motivation or the body holding on to something, and allow the inhalation to open up space in any tense places you're noticing in the body right now. And if you can, allow every exhalation to release some of that tension. So, in the beginning of our process of self-compassion, exploring self-compassion, which is the title of the focus, in a sense, of these 5 sessions. This is number 1, is just give yourself some space to more deeply breathe and allow yourself to relax as much as possible. And are your feet planted directly flat on the ground? If you're seated in a chair, if you're seated meditation fashion, is your spine as extended as possible? This allows you to breathe fully. A lot of times through the day, we're hunched over a desk, hunched over a table eating, not using the full expanse, first of all, of our body, and then our mind. Our mind constricts. We fall into old patterns that aren't so healthy. So just technique number 1 is allowing ourselves to fully breathe and actually focusing throughout the day on taking some deeper inhalations, fully exhaling. Notice the relaxation. It's from here we can often find our way to our motivation, to reestablishing a positive direction for our mind space. We may have set an intention in the morning, something positive, and over the course of the day, it slipped away. And me, myself, and I arose again, dominant, motoring that self agenda. This is our time to notice without judgment. Judgment is not necessary. Observation is all we're asking for. You're just observing. It's a little bit, again, of saying, here I am. I'm showing up for my mind, showing up with my mind. So from here, setting that positive motivation helps to orient this activity to be something more virtuous, something more virtuous. Again, if we are directed, is that we're going to get together right now for the next hour. Why? So maybe we can start appreciating self-compassion in our lives, opening up and exploring that more and more. That helps us be compassionate with others. That helps us on our path to enlightenment. In fact, it's necessary. Okay, with balance, with a good motivation. Why are we doing it? Not just for ourselves, but so that we can reach that fully awakened state. And then from that place, as Buddhas, as fully awakened beings, we're completely unlimited in how we can best help all living beings. That makes us ultimately happy. So if you like that intention to benefit all living beings, feel free to include that right now in your motivation. Just taking a moment to set that motivation for our time and all the rest of the events of your day. Please relax. Now, here's something else that happens with some meditation. Is when you finish, this is a very brief meditation, but when you finish a moment of meditation, could be 10 minutes, half an hour, however long your practice allows, what you're used to. When you finish, we normally either make a swift break, we jump up, we reach for the water, we check the phone. What about just, can you get to like 10, 20, 30 seconds where you just sit and observe? Before the engagement comes, I'm really enjoying that period. Right? I finish, I dedicate. Okay, fine, I'm done. I'm really in my mind, I'm done. I have another activity next. But there's transition. Observe the transitions more and more. In fact, I'm working a lot right now with transitions of just meaning one activity to the next. But I've really kind of heightened the transitions. Like somehow I'm using that as motivation. And literally, I mean, one transition. Oh, I'm going out to get in my car to drive to the store for food. Literally It's a new activity. I finish what's happening in the house for the moment. I have the keys in my hand. I'm opening the door. Can you mark right there? How's my motivation? How's my motivation? You know, like use it, use those transitions. I find them really useful right now. Somehow it's like the space in between is speaking to me more than I'm supposed to be meditating. I'm doing a meditation session now. Or do you have circling around you? And I know some of you do, okay? I should be doing this. Have you just labeled a big SH onto you? You know, you should be, I should be eating this. I shouldn't be doing that. I shouldn't be. You can get those out of the room, okay? And just look at when the should comes up. It's a transition, it's another moment. Okay, wait a minute. You know, I'm shooting on myself. I'm not really happy and content with where my mind is right now. Let me just think about my motivation. Let me just show up with presence, whatever the next thing I'm going to engage. Maybe it's just being for a moment. Maybe it's just being. We're not used to that. We're not comfortable with that as Americans. Really, I teach all over the world for a long time, and in the U.S. culture, it's a tricky one. It's like we need to be busy or something's wrong. Okay, I'm not buying into that anymore. Not at all. I mean, I can be really busy, and I am, but there's times of the day now I'm setting aside. I'm not having an activity. It's too much. I'm not having an activity. I'm in my practice. I'm going to go back to my practice. I'll use that as an activity. You know, and sometimes it could be a practice where instead of working on meditating, and I should be doing this kind of meditation, pushing the meditation, you know, and then you start checking your mind. Am I meditating right? Am I doing it right? How about just allowing yourself to be in meditation? Meaning I'm just sitting there for a moment. And sometimes you're really tired, and sometimes you're too new to meditation to know what to focus on, right? Or you're not clear about the meditation. And your inner dialogue starts with, I'm not doing this right. I can't really meditate. I don't have the concentration. I want to watch that TV show. I really want to be down in the kitchen with the other people. All that gunk. Okay. So what if you just observe, not judgment, I'm just watching all those stories in my mind, the 19 communities in your mind. Slowly they start, if I just observe without any big attachment to this thought or that thought, that's kind of self-compassion. It's just, oh, I'm just observing. Yeah. You know, sometimes I'll observe during the day, oh, there's a moment of sadness. Oh, there's concern for that person. There's a little irritation arising. I just observe. That's my mind. It's me. You know, I'm a nun. I'm not any holy person. I'm an ordinary person like you. Actually, I don't know who you are. You could have more realizations than me quite easily, actually. Okay. But I'm just observing. I'm in the same process with you. Same process. Like this is something that went on for me today was Sundays for me are a bit, I try to make them sacred where I really do not get on my technology. But that's been eroded the last 2 months because I'm in the middle of a 3-month semester. I'm teaching Mondays and Wednesdays for an institute, this psychoanalytical institute. They're wonderful people in Israel. So I was signed up to fly there. And now with COVID, it's all online. I committed to doing it, so I'm doing it. And it's Monday and Wednesday. So Sundays are gone now. I work all Sunday and I'm on the computer. So I'm not only preparing for those teachings, they're kind of rigorous, but I'm just trying to catch up with emails. And today that's all, it was like mostly what I was doing. And I got so annoyed at one point. I was really like, I just really wanted to read today. I was going to do all this reading. And I got to like a little bit of reading, you know, and that wasn't really the kind of reading I wanted to do. So again, and I just observed and I went, you know what? That's what's happening right now. Okay. And with that, that's what's happening right now. When you have that quotation, that's what's happening right now. Okay. For the most part, I believe, just looking at some of you on the screen, because we all have Wi-Fi to connect. Okay. Because that means we have electricity. and it looks like you're in some comfortable settings. And I could go on and on. You probably have food in your refrigerator, a relatively healthy body and mind. Some of you look like you're there together, maybe a good relationship, and on and on. And so what happens is when it comes up for me, okay, so this is what's happening today. Compared to most of the planet, it's pretty good, isn't it? It's pretty good. But when you get into your irritation and your fear and your anger about this or that, we lose balance. And suddenly our first world problems become really big problems. And then I'm leaden, beaten down under that. But when you really look at it, it's like I have every perfect opportunity right now to work with my mind. Every perfect opportunity. Okay. But again, we're trying to redirect habits, redirect habits. So let me talk a little bit more about self-compassion. And again, I would use this on the path. I think it's essential on the path, self-compassion, but not without our bigger motivation of bodhicitta, not without ever forgetting bodhicitta, this enlightened attitude that's about showing up on a path to get enlightened to benefit all living beings. Trying as much as I can to cherish others. So my self-compassion exercises, my self-compassion techniques, talking about it is all oriented like that. It's not just about me. It has to be a bigger scope. Then I'm happy to practice self-compassion. So I always want to mention that it's within that realm that I'm talking about it. And I'm going to, over these 5 sessions, I'm just going to go through different techniques that I've practiced over the course of my life, and especially Dharma life. But some of it, even before the Dharma, some of it's not necessarily rooted in Dharma, but I find it gets me to a place where I am respecting myself more. As a result, then taking care of myself in a better way, healthier way, and more balanced way, okay, that allows me to practice Dharma well. Okay, you can't push and squeeze and force yourself to practice Dharma. And in a degenerate time that they say we're in now, it gets enormously hard to practice Dharma. The excuses I hear from students of why they're not able to practice so much now are getting more and more sophisticated. Okay, so we all have our reasons. Okay, we do our best. So I want to talk about something. These are some things I put together over the years that can be helpful. 10 steps of acceptance. What help? Because sometimes with self-compassion, we're grinding ourselves. And then sometimes you think that's okay. And the reason is you have habits, perhaps raised with guilt and people that sacrifice themselves without any balance at all, because that's what they were taught by their parents. So we were taught that way. So therefore, if we act in a different way that might be healthier, we experience guilt. Well, maybe I shouldn't be doing this because, and I see that mother is doing it like this and I should be like that. Okay. But just in general, and just look at things, the way people work as well. We look at habits of, I have a workaholic tendency. So I have to really monitor. Today was a little bit of the monitoring where there I was in the mode, of in just, oh, we're just going to be checking emails for 12 hours. Like that's really, that's just an old habit that crept in today. And I didn't allow myself enough breaks that I was supposed to, move my body a little bit that would have been helpful, but that didn't happen today. So I got a little, you notice the little upset with yourself. Oh, so you didn't get any exercise today. Okay. I'm just noticing, oh no. And what I can do is I can do better tomorrow. I can try to do better tomorrow, but I'm not going to put too much pressure on myself like this. So one of the things is number 1 step. Okay. Honor the full sweep of your emotions. Honor the full sweep of your emotions. I'm not going to deny that I wasn't annoyed that I didn't exercise today. I just look at it. And I'm not living with anyone right now. So I don't have anyone to bounce off of to kind of, so we're also going to talk about that in relationships. So for instance, if I'm living with someone and then I get annoyed because I didn't exercise, which is nobody's fault but my own, right? Nobody pinned me here to the desk and said, you need to be on the emails. nobody but myself. Okay. So what happens is because of that experience and your irritation with yourself, not compassion with yourself, your irritation with yourself, then your partner, the person you're living with, it could be a housemate, not someone you're intimate with, housemate or partner, roommate, whatever, like that. And then something happens where they walk into the space, they interrupt, they do something, then you snap at them, right? When it's all about me and my mind, not being, it could have been something where, okay, I realize I'm not going to get the exercise in today, or at least a stretch or something, right? So instead of just being like, yeah, okay, but I did get a lot of this other stuff done. Great. So tomorrow, let's make that a priority with the other things I have. Where are you going to fit it in? Maybe schedule it. But I'm also honoring. I was a little disappointed. I'm just noting disappointment, irritation with myself. I'm just noting it. But I'm not buying into it heavily and creating more of it. I'm just I watch a bubble of disappointment arise. Okay. But without over elaborating it, making it bigger and bigger and bigger, I just watch it float off. Maybe you pop it. There it goes. Okay, I watch the irritation come in. You know this habit when you get in front of the computer and the emails. You know that habit. It's well ingrained. Let that irritation just float off instead of making it bigger and bigger until I have anger at myself. Right? And why I don't need to go to anger? Because I've been there before. There's no benefit in my getting angry at myself. And what that teaches me is how to get angry at other people. That's the imprint it leaves. So again, honor that full sweep of the emotion. Okay. So here I'm recognizing the magnitude, okay, of how I'm feeling. Okay. And I'm seeking to just fully feel and express the emotions. If you're with someone else, you might say to your partner when they come in, oh, please, can you do me a favor? Don't interrupt me right now. I'm almost done. And then let's have something to eat. Because they're like, I'm hungry. Are we going to eat together? Are we going to watch this movie? Are we going to take a walk? Okay, 5 more minutes. I'm almost done this, just 5 more minutes of concentration, then 100% I'm there. Can we just express that instead of the little bit of snippets, snapping back at them? Instead, express the emotion. I'm kind of irritated with myself that I've been at this so long. You can just express that to them. Right? I'm a little disappointed that I know you were doing the yoga and I opted out, and I kind of feel like really sluggish right now and lazy. And I've been sitting here eating these Cheetos and, whatever. Right. So just why don't we say that instead of, because that's compassion for yourself too. And that's where it starts. I'm holding it. And then this is a way that allows you to more deeply understand the full impact of when you're re-traumatizing yourself. This isn't a major trauma, I'm saying, just because I'm irritated because I'm sitting there at the emails. This isn't a full, we have deeper trauma, of course, than that. But it's just all those little things that build up, that create fear in your mind, anxiety, depression, irritation, anger, attachment, jealousy, all those imbalanced mind states, delusion. So instead of just owning it, here I am, to understand why my mind operates that way. Let me just calmly notice it, maybe express it in a gentle way to yourself or others, and watch the bubble flow off and let it go. Let it go rather than over embellishing, which creates that deep rut in your mind. So the secret to living an emotionally fulfilling life, the secret to healing from hurtful experiences in so many ways lies in how you respond. Okay, the extent to which you've developed your ability to relate to yourself compassionately. Okay, and this is a way through that you seek to understand your emotions. Why is that always arising for you? Why, when you're with this person, you always act like that? Go in there, analyze, check. I have certain patterns I do with certain people. I'll notice that I notice why I do it. I'm unraveling, peeling back pieces of the onion to get to the core thing so that I can gently start to readjust how I really want to be with that person and be authentic. and be more authentic. Okay. Instead of, going into this other space because you feel a bit insecure or rattled or that they're judging you, or I realize I'm okay. They can have their view. I can't change their mind. I can't do anything about that. If I'm okay, I'm okay. They can think whatever they like. I'm balanced. I'm okay. And so this way, when you have in understanding your mind, understanding your emotions, okay, um, how even thoughts, inner sensations are triggered, especially if it's a painful one that comes up. Okay, this way it could be valuable feedback for me in that path of self-compassion. Okay, which helps to better inform how I'm going to make my decisions, choices, responses like that. So again, honoring that full sweep of the emotions, even checking physical things in your body. I'm making these satsas, these plaster images, and I have 200,000 images to make, is what I was assigned many years ago. I've made about 175,000 images. So I'm trying to finish. I thought pandemic, perfect activity for the pandemic. And I've started, and my typical workaholic tendency is I overstarted too much. And I just got into them. I like making them, and they turned out really beautiful. And was cranking along for a week. And I think that the different nundro we do, these are preliminary practices, of which making satsas, making these plaster images, is one. I think they purify the different elements in the body. So Geshe Sherab, one of your wonderful teachers with your center, I think is doing a Dorje Kadro retreat. Is that correct? Okay, so that's a nundro. It's a burning offering. You make burning offerings. You make a little fire and you visualize this deity. And I did that many years ago in India. And it felt like it purified the fire element in the body. And you have different experiences around that based on that. So the tsatsas is about your body. You're purifying the form element. So after just a week, I had all these weird things happening with my body, like that. Like I just, again, I can't say it's the purification, but it was just pretty strange. So this today and yesterday, I backed off from the practice, realizing, take it slowly, pace yourself, self-compassion, self-compassion. Again, honoring that full sweep of the emotions. Like I dove in, everything going along great, all activated great. All these people wanted these tiles and whatever, and which I didn't expect, and it was just too much. Great. Take a breath, reevaluate. What's a healthier way to do it? Do I have balance when I'm doing it? I didn't have balance last week with it. So I'm assessing. I know, and this has come from knowing my mind so much, how my mind operates. Am I going to beat myself up? Here's the other response you could have of lack of self-compassion. You beat yourself up that I launched right into my workaholic tendency, and you start labeling onto yourself, that's all you are, that's who you are, you're a workaholic, that's all you know, you're doing it again, you're worthless, it's stupid. I don't need to go there. Why? I've been there already. I've been there for years. I'm done with that, right? I don't even have those words come up in my mind. The workaholic tendency, I just notice. I go, there you are. There you are. And with a smile on my face, there I was making the tsatsas going, oh, you're going to try to jam in one more session? Like, really? And I was, I actually humor myself. And the tsatsas actually happened with a lot at Vajrapani Institute, to the point where I started singing, making them, because I was alone all day in this very cold warehouse making them. And it was so, again, uplifting. Like I can tell myself jokes, and it lightens your mind up. We're trying to get enlightened, right? So what brings brightness to the mind? So again, it's me just noting a tendency, observing, noting it. It might be a negative tendency, but I'm not holding on to it. I'm not holding on to it. And some of the workaholism, if I want to label myself like that, has had good results in some of the work I've done. I didn't like the balance. It was a lack of balance, but I feel like some of the work I've done over the years has been valuable for people. So, okay, I acknowledge, but you know what? I had to say to myself, come on, you need to not do any today. You're going to take a break from those today. And that's totally okay. I have permission, given myself permission, right? But without any of those negative labels on myself. I'm good enough, you know. And I have some of them here covering this table. So I walk by them and I admire. You know, I don't get into like you should be making more today. You're not making any. I go by and I say, wow, they look really nice. It's great. So glad I could make some, even if these are the last ones I'll ever make. Great. I gave it my best shot, like that. And then being able to share them with people like that. So it's very sweet. So again, honor that full sweep. Number 2, give up your need for revenge, but continue to seek a just resolution. This is when you're harmed. Okay, we hold on to stuff, and this is about acceptance as well of yourself and others. Self-compassion helps us to have more acceptance for ourselves and others, especially our negative tendencies and the negative tendencies of others. Okay, a big part of healing and a big part of developing a very self-compassionate mindset is to let go of the natural instinct to hurt back or take revenge when you are hurt. Okay, remind yourself that thoughts, plans, you know, things give you this false sense of power over someone else. We have a culture right now that teaches us a little bit that revenge is okay. It's not. We're influenced by so many things like that. Look at what kind of books you read, what kind of videos do you watch, what kind of news are you attracted to, because all of that leaves an imprint in your mind. And you hear people around you. I was raised kind of like I could hear people saying, well, you should get them back, or I can't believe that, you know, everything was external. The blame was always external. It wasn't me taking responsibility for my mind. So this really quick way of getting back at somebody quickly, you might have an instant where you feel some gratification from it, but doesn't last. Later, you're often really sorry from things like that. So to keep your mind in this mode, you jeopardize all your peace and well-being of body and mind, basically. Okay. Lasting peace and healing only can be found on a path that allows you to mindfully turn away from any kind of retaliation. Okay. Turn toward a better understanding of yourself as a human being. Okay. To compassionately validate yourself for what you went through, what you learned, what you took from the situation, so that can empower you in a positive way, that can help you grow, strengthen you to create a preferred present and future. So somebody hurt you, you don't like what they said, you don't like what they're doing, and it can even be kind of a world leader. People have these big affronts of this person and that person, he said, she said, like that, you know. What do I learn? Am I doing the most I can do? Do you want to be involved in community service? You want to be involved in social action? It's a personal decision. But how do you want to be involved? With a spacious motivation. You can't fix everybody, but I'm going to come with as much grace from my mind, from my side. Why? Because I'm treating myself well. And because I feel like this person may have really hurt me or said a snippy remark to me, or didn't respond to me, or whatever's going on like that, and realize, you know what, I do that too. I do that too. I didn't do it intentionally. You know, some of the emails I found today were buried. You know how they get buried where you get it one's on top, and somebody, you know, I realized it had been ages. Some student asked me a question, and I wrote back and I said, I'm so sorry I lost this email for a while, and you know, like that. So you know, you just acknowledge, but I'm a human being too. So I've made the same mistakes. I've hurt people. So in that bigger acknowledgement, we're not that unlike, then I can realize that I don't have anything negative to get back at them. I'm going to roll it into my practice, roll it into my practice. And then I don't know. Number three is I don't know if you have issues where you obsess about a harm someone's done, a rude word, something that you feel like they did to you, something they hurt you. And you know, some of us have very deep imprints of child abuse and things like that when you were a child, and huge things that we've obsessed for years or victim. But sometimes it's smaller things going on, and you spend a lot of time creating a bigger story, a bigger negative story about it. So as far as acceptance and self-compassion, stop obsessing about the injury. Okay, re-engage with positive life. Re-engage with positive life. So for healing to take place, again, it's essential to become aware of, okay, to stop and replace any repetitive, toxic thinking patterns, okay, that may cause you to obsessively overthink, okay, about this, she said this, and he annoyed me with that, he's not doing that, and she's not saying that, okay? And those are ways it continually intrudes and interrupts your life. Social media does this. So be cautious with your social media. What are you looking at? How long are you looking at it? What do you know, do we need to go to these sites over and over, the same garbage cycling sometimes, especially with news and things like that? You know, and I've seen people, and we've all seen this with the election cycle, was how much I had so many friends that were trying to engage me in the hatred of, you know, this evil person and that evil person in the political cycle. Okay. So I got really tired. I went to a park with three other friends from high school, three girlfriends from high school. The interesting thing was we all had this a similar political view, but one of them the whole time just kept bringing up these negative stories in the news. And at one point, it was this gorgeous garden we went to in the autumn. In the autumn, we went. And finally, at one point, I just said, you know, can we just like look at the flowers right now? Can we just focus on the fact, you know, I can go on the news site and get all of that stuff, you know, so just kind of that redirection of, but can you notice in your own mind when you're cycling through and check yourself, is it helpful? Is it helping you in any way or not helping? And I notice there's even people that I love dearly and I'm in touch with a lot, and we're very close. And so we'll be on a WhatsApp call. They live overseas and we'll be talking about, you know, we got into a thing about politics or something. And then suddenly we both stopped at the same time and we said, let's talk about something else. Like after a while, there wasn't really any benefit in the conversation. We said, yeah, let's talk about something. This is not where we want to be right now, but we both noticed it at the same time. And fortunately, we both wanted to turn to a new direction. So you do the best you can with that. But notice that overthinking. Some of us are overthinkers, you know, and I used to be an overthinker tremendously. And then let's say, how many of you live alone right now, are quarantined alone? Just put your hand up. Okay, a few people. And some of you with partners or with other roommates. When you live alone, right, you don't have as many personal outlets. So if you're prone to overthinking, then it may go over and over more without somebody popping you out of it like that. But sometimes with partners, you'll notice that. You know, I've seen partners say, well, you know, she thinks too much or he thinks too much. He's very sensitive. He overthinks this or she. So just notice that about yourself. It was a tendency I had, and I started to become aware of it years ago. And I would notice that the sensitivity, living in a community like Vajrapani Institute, we had a number of residents and staff, and we were at meetings all the time. And I would just get really sensitive. Someone would say something, you know, I was the director. So I'd notice how it would go in, and then I go back to my cabin alone for a while, and then I'd, you know, and then I started to notice, and I went, you know, I don't need to think about that anymore. Did I do, you know, check, am I doing all I can do? Yeah, I think so. I'm a human being, and that also means I'm not perfect. That means I'm going to make mistakes. I can forgive myself for that because I really am showing up with a good intention every day, trying to do the best I can, and I don't have all the answers. And I told everybody there that I don't have all the answers, and I'm going to make mistakes, and I need your support, and I really welcome your help, and like that. right? And sometimes they'd be happy about it, and sometimes they wouldn't be happy about it. And there's nothing I could do about that, but take care of my mind and be myself and continue to do the best I could do. So when I notice the obsessive thoughts, I would just, sometimes I'd say to myself, stop thinking right now. And then I would I'd start using a thought replacement to put in some more positive thinking into the space again and again and again, like a mini meditation. So it wasn't a formal meditation, but sometimes informal meditation, when I noticed a ruminating negative thought pop in, I'd say, how can we reframe that? Isn't there a positive way to think about that? Like that thought's leading me to something, but now I'm going to check what it's leading me to. And if I continue it on, there's really no benefit there. So let me reframe the situation, meaning there's another way to look at it. There's always another perspective. I'm only seeing things from my limited view. So, so that's why the conscious awareness of these patterns is huge in helping us replace them with life enriching thoughts instead. Life enriching thoughts, something more positive I can think. And eventually you start habitually going into the positive thoughts more and more, the more you practice them. That's why we meditate. It's a form of practice. Okay, I'm rehearsing, my mind is rehearsing more positive ways of dealing with life, with dealing with delusions when they arise, applying the correct antidote like that. So stop obsessing about the injury, re-engage with life again, with life enriching thoughts, more positive mind frame. Another thing we want to do just in general self-compassion and acceptance overall is protect yourself from any further abuse, further harm from yourself or others. That's why for me, the self-critical obsessive thoughts, after a while, I realized they were just creating more harm for me. So you know what, I kind of be like, can we stop them? Let's try to stop them. Let's work on that. And some of it was before the Dharma, before I got into the Dharma. So I would research different things. We didn't have computers to do it at the time as much. You could research through different books of ways to disengage negative thinking like that. So that was a way to prevent more abuse to myself, but sometimes it comes from other people. Okay. So this step involves fully accepting the fullness of how wrong another's actions against you were in order to possibly learn to distance yourself from them, to protect yourself from them or such actions in the future. Okay? For people that experience some very deep abuse from when they were young or over the course of life, sometimes you just need to make some distance. And you know what? That's okay. And that's a compassionate piece for yourself to start to do that. Some people feel guilty because it's their father or mother. I have to see them. I should see them. Okay. And people's parents who are narcissists or who are manipulative, and they for years just kept, and that now they're in an area of taking care of them because they're old and the abuse continues. So there's ways you can show up with love and compassion for them, care, okay? And you can be very clear with them when they start the levels of abuse. I had to do it with somebody in my life where every time they started the really negative, critical, kind of emotional stuff, I would just leave the room. I just learned to leave the room and walk out. So there's no longer an audience for them. There's no way they're going to do it alone in the room. There's no point in that. They simply had a habit of doing that to the person they mainly lived with. That wasn't me, it was someone else. When that person died, whoever else showed up, they were going to do it to them. It was just their habit. So I didn't personalize it. I knew I was fine. I was doing my best, right? And I would just simply leave the room over and over. A few of us were doing that. I noticed people would just leave the room when they started ranting, whatever. And then occasionally, depending on your relationship with the person, you might be able to actually say to them at an appropriate moment, I'm really happy to help you. And I realize you do need some help, and I know you're really upset right now. However, if you want to continue to talk to me that way, I'm not going to be available. Not going to be available for us to work in that way. So it's your choice how you want to show up. And sometimes I've had to directly say that to people. There's a couple of people I had to that were had that tendency of abuse over and over and like that. So some people say there's levels, we let it go, we just take it and let it blow off. But there's sometimes I would just kind of draw a line and say, you're better than this too, to the other person. They weren't happy doing it. It was just a habit they had. Just a habit they had. So again, this conscious acceptance allows you to choose to use the pain of your experience, okay, as an asset that motivates you to learn how to better protect yourself from harm, okay, to take precautions to ensure your safety, like that, in the present and the future. And you might even have to set up physical boundaries and barriers if necessary. Me walking out of the room is a physical boundary, not available. Every time you're going to raise your voice like that, I'm just not going to be here anymore. I know people that have actually left the house. They're like, when you're going to start yelling and screaming, I'm gone. Even if they just arrived, and the person eventually learned that they were not going to be able to behave that way around that person. It's difficult. It's difficult. And again, you can allow people to have little lapses without the full blown thing where you'd hang out and realize that, because it's not about changing them. It's really just you realizing your value, you acknowledging your value so that people don't get into a pattern of treating you that way. You're valuing yourself. You're worth something. Absolutely. You're worth something. I was recently with a friend taking a walk, and it's just dysfunctional family she was telling me about. It was really sad, but we all have our experiences with, none of us are outside of dysfunctional families for the most part, even if you have a good family. And she was just telling me that one sibling said to her, "Well, you're not worth anything." And so, this is all in the care of an elderly parent, the siblings fighting and not getting along. And it's so painful. And a lot of people are going through this right now. So she's had to make some distance at times, and she's shown up very clearly with what she's able to do, whatever. It will never be good enough regardless. She's kind of made that decision. So she just offers what she can. She's there like that. She would be there in an emergency. And other than that, she has to limit the time, to ensure, again, her safety, her peace of mind. It's the best she can do. It's the best she can do. So some compassion for herself. So again, your success depends on how much you want the abusive pattern to stop. That's a key factor. Some people don't want it to stop, or it just identifies them. People who see themselves as victims, and the extent to which you believe in yourself to make whatever changes are necessary. Okay, what you're willing to do to realize change. Sometimes it's dramatic, and I know it's hard. I know it's hard. Again, but the first part is, are you accepting that you want to change the abusive pattern? That can be tricky because a lot of people, again, are over identified with being the victim, again and again and again. So, to remove that removes a whole lot of their identity. And I know people like this with kind of a chronic illness, which is very serious. I know many people suffering from chronic illnesses. I do know people where it defines them. And every time you meet them and every time you're with them, it's all they talk about. It's all they are. And then I know people that have chronic illnesses and are in extreme pain, and you never hear about it. They're re-engaged with life in a positive way. But it's perfectly okay if I ask them about it. And sometimes I'm like, you can vent to me if you want to. And sometimes they'll say, "Oh God, yeah." And I'm like, "Tell me about it. Let me hear what's going on." That's okay. But it's not all they are. They're doing all kinds of other wonderful work. So think about that, where there's some people where they just want to be the disease. There's people, we all know people who have lost children to death. It's horrible. I think it's one of the worst experiences we go through. So there's some I know that have been able to rise above the grief and the anguish and the horror. And sometime later, after they're healing and they're going through, and they'll never be the same. But after going through, we're able to join groups where they could help other parents going through it. And there's some people I know it's all they are. It's all they talk about. It's all you'll always hear like that. And they're always keeping themselves kind of in a limited view of what's happening. So again, a choice of how do we want to use that pain, the trauma, the suffering, like that, folding it into more of a self-compassion thing. So I'm going to go on with some of these in the next session as well. And this is also about acceptance, but I want to give you a self-compassion exercise now before we break for the next week. Self-compassion exercise. And really sweet from Kristen Neff. If you've read any Kristen Neff, she has a book on self-compassion. A couple books I'd recommend are her book on self-compassion, NEFF. She also has a website, and some of these techniques are on there. Christopher Germer is another person who has a book on self-compassion. And I really like Kristen Neff has, she talks about three main components we're going to talk about much more in the next session is to deal with self-compassion ways using three components. I've used these a lot in general, actually even before I saw her techniques. I think a lot of us are using these, dealing with some imbalances when we find a lack of self-compassion for ourselves with mindfulness, number one. Number two, shared or common humanity. And number three, with loving kindness, with loving kindness. So as an instant, if you can this week, if you're noticing you've fallen off the self-compassion horse and you're not being that kind to yourself, and it could be just, you've eaten the entire pint of ice cream and you said you weren't going to do that, and you know that you don't feel well after you do, or not getting the exercise you said you were going to get that week, not reading, preparing the materials you were going to do, not doing the work project that well, we all have our things, not doing your meditation, not getting to the Dharma book you wanted to read or the course you were going to do, like that. And whatever the thing is, and you notice the negatives start building up in the mind, telling yourself some other stories, negative stories about yourself. I can't do this. I'll never be able to lose weight. I'll never be able to meditate. I'm not going to read that book. I'm not going to understand emptiness. Whatever your thing is, mindfulness. Number one, you just observe. There's my mind. I'm just noting. I'm breathing in. I'm breathing out. I'm noticing a tendency to want to layer some negative things on me. Just breathing in, breathing out. I'm just looking for my other document. And just noting without any judgment about this is a good thought, this is a bad thought. Just watching those thoughts. Just basic mindfulness. Being with any discomfort in the body and mind. Just observing that. Period. Period. No sweeping judgment, criticism, whatever. I'm just simply noting. Noting all of those thoughts, all of those feelings. If I continue on, and we're going to go more into this, if I continue on with shared humanity, an approach of shared humanity, well, you know what? A lot of people feel this way. A lot of people have eaten the ice cream tonight. I'm not alone in this. I'm not alone in feeling anxious about the pandemic. I'm not alone in being disgusted with my government or being happy with my government or wondering when I'm going to get the vaccine, or will I be able to take that trip? Will I have the vaccine in time in order to do that program or that trip? Will I get it? How come they got it? I want to get it. Do I want to get it? Maybe I don't want to get it. How will my life be if I don't get it? like that shared humanity. We're all in this together. And this is something globally we are all in together. Shared humanity, common humanity. It's not just about me experiencing this. So many people around the planet are experiencing it. Okay, number 3, loving kindness. Sometimes you need to just put a hand to your heart. Sometimes I'll do that. I'm just like, or maybe it's just like, I'm okay. I'm okay, you know. And actually, you're feeling bad about yourself. You said an offhand remark, negative remark to somebody, some snippy remark to your partner or somebody else, sent a bad email off because you're irritated at somebody. And, maybe it's just kind of, what kind of kindness can I direct for myself right now? I need a little support right now. What can I direct? Kind of kind thought can I lend to myself right now? I deserve it. What kind of kindness can I show to myself? I want to show it to others, but if I'm not showing it here, it's not gonna be superficial to others. It's not really gonna be there. It's not gonna activate. So again, think about mindfulness, shared humanity, loving kindness. So work with that a little bit this week. And also just think about a few of these steps. When forgiveness isn't an option, okay? Honoring the full sweep of emotions, give up a need for any getting back at somebody, let that go. You'll feel so much better yourself, okay? Stop obsessing and ruminating in the mind. See if you can disengage that a little bit, okay? And protecting yourself from getting into any additional negative experiences, negative patterns, having any more pain directed at you, if it's possible. Any questions, comments? Robert, please unmute.
So, what is the line between, like, it was interesting when you said when they're ranting or raving, and you say, well, you're not trying to change them. That was a very good point, because that caught me. But what's the line with saying not being just, they're not really, it's like, well, I don't want to listen to this for my own, being selfish. I just don't want to listen to what they're saying. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like, it's not really against me. They're just ranting and raving, and I don't feel like listening. Is that kind of cherishing myself and not being?
Well, to some degree, it can be, depending on what the person is talking about and what your relationship with them is. So there's some people I know in the pandemic, as many of you know, that I think have been either living alone, very lonely. So they just want somebody to talk to. And occasionally I'll just let them go for a while. But if it becomes really negative about people, about something, I might try to just gently change the subject. And if they're really trashing somebody that we know, I might then intersperse some positive things I know about that person. And so there's different ways to cut that negative tendency, and even acknowledging that I don't really want to hear this conversation. So I'm acknowledging a little bit self-serving, but it's also not great for this person to just get into negative mind states themselves. So if I can get that broader view of I do care about them too, then it's good for can be good for both of us, like that.
Thank
And
you so much.
why not have it be a more mutual benefit, right? I think that makes everybody happier in general. Anything else might be coming up? Okay, let's stop there. And is that right? It's 1 hour? Great. Okay, this is a lovely little hour interlude.
Yes, it is.
It's so sweet. Anyway, so we're back next Sunday, and if you'd like, have a look at Christopher Germer. I think he has a website, but I know his book, Kristen Neff. You can have a look at their things in the meantime. But just think about using that mindfulness. Very helpful. Just even the way we got into the meditation. Use your breath. Are you breathing fully? Sometimes I notice I'm sitting over a table reading, and then I'm like, whoa, I haven't even had a deep breath. That can help so much to generally lend some self-compassion to yourself. And here's just a general technique. It is winter, and I know basically the climate in Santa Fe, if a lot of you are in Santa Fe, not everybody is, but I don't know how many of you are bathers. Santa Fe does have some nice hot springs probably that are closed right now, but you know, get in the bath. It's like one of my favorite things to do. If you're ever feeling sorry for yourself, if you have aches and pains, in general, do you ever have a little, for those of you that like, just get in, I like to get in the bathtub once in a while, and it's like such a treat for myself. Put something in there that helps your body, some salts or something like that, that helps to take the aches away. That can be really nice like that. Or do some kind of activity, something like that that speaks to you. For some people, it's getting outside for a walk on a nice day, or eating some good food, or playing with your animals, or calling a dear friend. There's many ways that we can lend a little something that you really enjoy doing. Do it this week. Make sure you're doing something. Even every day, there should be a little self-compassion exercise like that. Some little thing. You deserve it. You are a sentient being. So you're in that formula of benefiting all sentient beings. So let's dedicate whatever positive energy we've created. And I want to thank you so much for joining. Let's roll it into our practices to further invigorate our practice, and really help us be able to move along this path to full awakening so we can be of the most benefit. But let's also start with some self-compassion techniques that will get us motivated. I'd also like to dedicate to all the beings with COVID on the planet to be healed instantly, and those who have recently passed away from that or something else, may they take a precious human rebirth quickly so they can get enlightened to benefit all. Really like to direct some energy to Peter Kay with pancreatic cancer in Vermont, Norma Harris with stage 4 colon cancer in Atlanta, Kathleen Raffatz recovering from serious cancer surgery in San Diego, and all the other beings that need our healing, that need help, and our prayers like that. Let's just go to, I'm just going to share my screen very briefly for a couple of quick little dedications. Here we go. These are recommended from Lama Zopa Rinpoche. We're just going to do a couple of these. I'll share my screen. Here we go. Can you see that? Dedication verses? If you're near your screen. Okay, great. O Janchu Senjo Rinpoche, Ma ke panyam ke gyurchik, ke panyam pa me pa yi, gone gondu bel warshog. Most important dedication, let's dedicate in emptiness. To seal the merits with emptiness, let's reflect as much as you know about things lacking inherent nature due to all the past, present, and future merits collected by me, the numberless Buddhas, the numberless sentient beings, which are completely empty of existing from their own side. May I, whom completely empty of existing from my own side, achieve the state of full enlightenment, which is completely empty of existing from its own side, and lead all sentient beings who are completely empty of existing from their own side to that state which is completely empty of existing from its own side, by myself alone, whom completely empty of existing from my own side. And lastly, the long life prayers for our precious teachers, His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Lama Zopa Rinpoche, the wish-granting, wish-fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world. To the incomparably kind Tenzin Gyatso I beseech, may all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. For Lama Zopa Rinpoche, you who uphold the subduer's moral way, who serve as the bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Manjunath's victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplish magnificent prayers honoring the three sublime ones, Savior of myself and others, your disciples, please please live long. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Tupta Norberling. And I wish you a good week and look forward to seeing you soon. And lovely to see some